night is a delicious meal, then what we call a centerpiece game is the main protein, the dish that brings everyone to the table and satisfies those gamerly appetites. In our list of centerpiece games, we've focused on games that you could build a game night around. Though there is always room for fillers on the side. Okay.
Almost there.
I bungled it a couple times, so that's good.
Mr. Bungle?
Yes. It was a good bed.
Mm-hmm.
If a game night is a delicious meal, then what we call centerpiece game is the main protein, the dish that brings everyone to the table and satisfies those gamerly appetites. In our list of centerpiece games, we've focused on games that you could build a game night around, though there's always room for fillers on the side.
To summarize ARCs in brief is sort of to do it a disservice, actually. What we have here is a truly unique, engaging game that manages to use a trick-taking core to power a tight, contentious, strategic 4X space game experience. With a really interesting take on action economy, where your place in the round's trick impacts how many actions you'll be able to take during the game's precious few turns, ARCs doesn't really leave much room for friendly live and let live gameplay, so it's definitely not going to be for everybody. You've got to be ready to kneecap your opponents in order to get ahead, and you've got to know that they're coming for you just as hard. The best part of ARCs, and the aspect that will probably be the most divisive, is how it asks you to embrace the randomness of your hand of cards each round, to adapt on the fly, not only to the limitations that your cards impose, but also to find the opportunities that your opponents will give you or steal from you with each of their own card plays. And there's dice in it, too. ARCs manages to be both strategic and random, combining somehow phenomenal aspects of both style of gameplay. And if the formula works for you, then it will absolutely make ARCs a choice centerpiece game for your collection.
There are a lot of great things about international travel, but one of the parts that's always been the most fun for me is planning the amazing things I want to do. Well, in Let's Go to Japan, you and your fellow travelers are playing a game about exactly that. Not the trip itself, but the planning of your upcoming week-long trip to Japan. And for whatever reason that doesn't sound like an amazing time, let me assure you it absolutely is. Let's Go to Japan is a drafting game where players will add cards to their travel schedule. These cards represent the delicious meals you're going to enjoy, the sightseeing adventures you'll be going on, the amazing shopping excursions, and more. As you build up your tableau, you'll be making your best effort to have the most fun you can manage in your limited time, drafting cards that will trigger bonuses and add points by the end of the game. Of course, budget is a concern, and you'll want to keep an eye on your wallet, as well as manage your transitions from the various metro lines. But the goal is to have a great trip, and if your budget takes a little bit of a beating, well, you'll figure it out. With gorgeous multi-use cards, the overall aesthetic and the theme go hand in hand with the gameplay to make Let's Go to Japan a really beautiful experience.
Dune Imperium Uprising has quickly become one of my favorite games. This standalone sequel to Dune Imperium from Dire Wolf retains and expands on the original's strategic blend of deck building and worker placement. What we have here is a deeply engaging game of limited resources and tight contention, setting the stage for tense standoffs and sometimes shocking power plays, all without being nearly as fussy or as complicated as a game based on one of the original sci-fi epics could easily become. With art inspired by the recent film adaptations and fully compatible with both the original version of Dune Imperium and its previously released expansions, Dune Imperium Uprising is the definitive version of an already great game. Somehow both accessible and deep, this one's absolutely the sort of game you could build a whole board game night around and still have time to play some other titles besides. And if you love it as much as I do, then you should definitely also check out the fantastic digital adaptation from Dire Wolf Digital.
The spooky season may be behind us, but as any horror fan will tell you, you should always be worried about what might be sneaking up. The Night Cage from Smirk and Dagger Games is a fully cooperative game unlike almost anything else we've played. Players will work together as they stumble through the dark, trying desperately to find the keys they need to escape the titular cage. But while Candlelight offers some sanity in their immediate surroundings, every time players move, the maze they're trapped in shifts and changes, often making what was once a safe passage into an endless pit, or worse. There are creatures in the dark too, all too eager to snuff out the light and the player's collective chances for survival. It's tough, random, and awesome. And if the Night Cage wasn't scary enough, the newly released Shrieking Hollow expansion adds so much more terror. With multiple modules to swap in and out, including the absolutely horrifying Other that rises up from the bottomless pits to consume and entrap players, this addition to the Night Cage will have your gaming group on the edge of their seats for a good long while, which is great since it also increases the player count to 5, making it even better choice to build a game night around.
So, making a really fun racing game is weirdly kinda hard, but Heat from Days of Wonder absolutely succeeds. In this card-driven hand management racing game, you and your opponents will push your cars to limit and beyond, as you jockey for position, hammer the gas on those straightaways, and above all, manage those hairpin turns on your way to victory. So many racing games feel obsessed with slowing down, and of course, real-life racing is all about speed management, but Heat encourages aggressive plays, making it easy for you to push your car faster and faster, while making the penalties for going too fast into a tight turn not so crippling that you aren't willing to take bigger risks. At the heart of the game's mechanics are stress and heat, two factors that will be the key to your victory if handled well, or the opposite. The most basic version of the game has everyone starting with an identical deck of cards, representing a stock car experience. But Heat really comes into its own once you introduce card customization, road hazards, and even automated legendary racers for you to test your mettle against. The game's physical design is fantastic, with really helpful player mats and tons of fantastic Vincent Dutrait artwork to add to its really excellent table presence. The 4 racetracks that are included in the base game are great, but if you're looking for an even bigger, more exciting experience, then you should grab the recently released Heavy Rain expansion, which adds another player, more customization options, and 2 more racetracks that feature flooded sections guaranteed to test your nerves and the control you have over your vehicle. If your gaming table has a taste for tight, competitive racing games with honestly shockingly accessible rules, we definitely think you should check out Heat. Hey, Meeple and I thank you for watching. If you want to see more of our reviews, please click on either of these playlists. One of them is our full-length review series, and the other one is Game in a Minute, where we tell you everything you need to know about a game in about 60 seconds. If you'd like to subscribe, please click the G and ring the bell so that you get a notification every time we publish. And if you like what we do and want to support us, please check out links to our Patreon below. We'll see you next game. Flesh and blood.